For 30 years, one institution has been quietly shaping Vietnam's entire tourism industry. This is the story of the Faculty of Tourism Studies at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities in Hanoi, a 3-decade journey of incredible vision, constant innovation, and massive impact.
But seriously, think about that for a second. When a country wants to build a huge economic pillar like tourism from the ground up, where do you even begin? It's not just about building hotels or airports. How do you create the people, the human foundation, for an entire industry from scratch?
Well, the answer isn't found in blueprints or policy meetings. It starts with people. And in this case, it started with the vision of just a handful of legendary teachers who saw what was coming long before anyone else did.
Let's wind the clock back to the early 1990s. Vietnam's Doi Moi economic reforms had just opened the country's doors to the world. And suddenly, tourism wasn't just a small idea, it was an exploding industry, ready to become a major part of the economy.
But there was this one massive bottleneck. The industry was facing a huge shortage of professionally trained people. You had staff learning as they went, but they were missing that deep scientific foundation you need for a modern service economy. This thirst for real talent was the spark that lit the fuse for everything to come. So who were the architects that stepped up to solve this massive challenge? Who were the pioneers willing to sail into these completely uncharted waters of tourism education? We're talking about a group of scholars whose names are, frankly, legendary in the field today. They're the ones who laid down the intellectual and philosophical bedrock for everything that was built on top. First, you had the guiding visionaries, the intellectual heavyweights. We're talking about professors like Chern Quoc Vuong, Hoang Thiel Son, and Nguyen Minh Thuy. These were the thinkers who provided the firepower, who made the case that tourism wasn't just a trade, but a real field of scientific study. And then you had the direct architects, the people who were hands-on, building the faculty brick by brick. People like Professors Ding Trung Kien, Cha Duc Tang, Lê Chi Quế, and Nguyen Pham Hung. They were the ones steering the ship in those critical early days, and their collective wisdom really forged the faculty's DNA. And get this wasn't just some dusty mission statement, it was their core philosophy, their North Star. The key was that blend of science and real-world practice. They weren't just training managers, no, they were creating thinkers, professionals who had this deep grasp of culture and could think for themselves. That idea became everything. So, with that powerful philosophy as their guide, the faculty set off on this amazing journey of firsts, constantly breaking new ground in Vietnam. After getting started in 1995, they didn't waste any time. By 2003, they'd launched the very first master's program in tourism in the entire country. And then, in 2018, they did it again, establishing Vietnam's first ever PhD program in the field. I mean, that really cemented their role as the nation's leader, creating the whole educational ladder from bachelor's all the way to doctorate.
Okay, so a pioneering vision, a history of being first. That's all very impressive. But what does it all mean in the real world? What's the actual, tangible impact? Well, let's look at the results of this 30-year journey.
Over 4,500 bachelor's graduates. These are the pros who have been staffing, managing, and leading Vietnam's tourism industry for decades. More than 660 master's graduates. You can think of them as the strategists and the senior leaders who are really pushing the industry forward. And here's maybe the most incredible number of all, a 100% employment rate for graduates. Now that's not just a statistic, that's a statement. It proves how much demand there is for what they call humanities tourism, graduates who bring that deeper cultural context to their work. And just look at the growth in the last decade alone. It's wild. The number of scientific publications more than doubled, jumping from around 800 to over 1,800. This research explosion links right back to that founding philosophy we talked about, taking science as the foundation. They're not just teaching tourism, they are actively creating the knowledge that defines it.
So, after 30 years of building this foundation and leading the charge, where do they go from here? Well, this journey is far from over.
You know, that metaphor of the ship, the one first steered by the founders, it's more fitting today than ever. Built on this incredible 30-year legacy, that ship is now sailing out into the open sea, ready to take on the huge global challenges of today, everything from sustainability to the digital revolution. The first 30 years were all about creating the intellectual bedrock for an entire industry. So the big question now is this. With such an amazing foundation already in place, what will the next 30 years of innovation even look like? What new horizons is this ship of tourism studies about to discover?